Welcome to Inside the Space with the Millers. I'm Krista.
And I'm Cory. We've spent our lives in sports, dance, raising kids, building a business. But most importantly, we've been learning and growing every step of the way.
Here, we'll share the real story of chasing dreams, overcoming obstacles, raising kids, and most importantly, celebrating the small victories that make it all worth it.
This is the space where passion meets purpose and where we get to be honest about our journey. Let's dive in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Inside the Space with the Millers. We're the Millers, and we are back.
Yes, awesome.
What are we talking about today?
And why don't we dive into the program that started the space, that is the space, that is what we do every day, our launch program. Yeah?
Launch is basically the backbone of the space, really. And those of you who are listening to our last episode, we were talking about literally needing more space because we had gone from our home studio into our one studio space here at the space. It's a mouthful. And we were really looking for what was missing in the dance training, the gaps of maybe being able to make a well-rounded dancer in the sense of even acting or singing, Pilates, all the things that would go along with the next level. Maybe someone that was done competing or was looking to really get into the business. In most dance studios today, I don't think that they're able to focus on that because they have so many recreational kids and that's actually their market and their business. And for us, we were like, what are other people not doing that maybe we could fill a void or a niche for some of the kids like our own daughter, Autumn, to be able to kind of help push and pursue.
I think if I remember back when we started the space, we had 6 kids and we were like, what can we do with these 6 kids? Like that would be, beneficial and helpful for them to, to maybe get into the business or to be a part of the business or to train them to be ready when jobs did come. And, it's wild to think that we went from 6 to 60 in 10 years.
6 kids. And we are going to be starting our 9th season with our biggest year yet, which is actually really exciting. And as most people know, it doesn't come with a lot of back-end hustle and nighttime scheduling and chasing masterclass teachers and, things that I think are kind of fun to be able to share.
I think one of the things I do want to share, just because people see the glam, right? They see the front end of the space. They see the videos, they see Autumn, they see some of the professional choreographers that come in. But a lot of times they don't see the blood, sweat, and tears that go into the back end, right? And we've talked about this, but for me, not being a dancer, one of the things that I feel like, I wanted was to bring a really cool environment, a creative environment for artists like, choreographers and dancers alike to be able to be free to create and do it with good energy, with a clean studio, with nice mirrors, with good music, with a nice, kind of energy in the air. I think we forget how important that is to be able to have that in order to create great things. I think sometimes, choreographers and dancers and artists both, or all of them, when they have the right environment, the sky's the limit. You
need fresh energy. And I love the word environment because really what we're, I think, hoping to do is create an experience for students that are coming into our launch program. I think most people look at me and think, oh, this is a technical program or this is a contemporary program. And we've worked, I think, really hard to start to facilitate and shift and pivot when we need to as the businesses change. When I was dancing, what was popular is completely different than what's happening now. So, just even starting off a little bit, it's like we do everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we just finished a shoot today with Tice and some of the launchers called one of the dances that we did, the Fantastic Wreck. And it was, we wanted to create something that was cinematic, that was like a La La Land, that was very, movie-esque. And, what's interesting today, and I know this is probably a little off topic because we're talking about launch, but I started to think about the important training elements that go into like creating things like this, right? That go into like, auditioning for a movie or a commercial or a music video or a television show. One of the things that we kind of realized today was how much easier it is to tell a story through like jazz and contemporary and like, movement type dance. That's, I think you can do it with hip hop too, but I feel like there's much more of storytelling sometimes, especially in relationships and culture, that can come through dance. And I think we get caught up sometimes, studios do, with competition. They learn one combo and then they compete it. They run it all year long, and they compete it at an environment that has a stage and a thing, or they just learn combos and they do it in a studio with a backdrop and the videos are shot that way. And I feel like sometimes, like, one of the things that I want to do is take it to a level that is just a little bit more storytelling, that, dance can be that, and to let these young artists that come up and they train their whole life to know that, hey, okay, you've trained your whole life and now you're on set. Now you're in front of the big director. Now you're at an audition. All that training now is what you use, all those years in the studio, or even the program itself. What we are trying to create is a place that they can actually learn those things, that they can make mistakes, that, dancers can come to the space for this program and know that they're going to get mock auditions that could be real auditions because it's in front of agents and choreographers and directors, that they could come here and learn different styles of dance that maybe they didn't learn at their dance studio growing up. They learned all the basics and all the foundational dances, but now it's time to take that to the next level. What is that next level? Like, let's go back. Like, I just told that little bit of story and it was a little bit of a hot mess, but maybe you can clarify, like, when you started the launch program, why did you start it and what did you think it was going to be? And then also, what was the purpose for you to start that, especially as a technique teacher?
Yeah. Well, like I was mentioning, going back, I think people just assume that the program is a technical based program. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone has to do technique that comes here. But really, for me as a dancer, when I was growing up, I was very unprepared to know, oh my goodness, like my very first audition for Saved by the Bell, I had to be a cheerleader. Well, okay, I was thinking, well, I was a cheerleader in high school, but I need those skills now to do something else. And that's what's being asked of me as a dancer. Or, oh my gosh, you have an audition for the American Music Awards and it's all stepping. And I'm thinking, what is stepping? So I felt a little behind the game in the sense of other styles. So I think that is number one for me. One of the reasons I really wanted to start a program that would encompass all of the things that would make students feel more comfortable auditioning. Autumn was starting to audition. You had been auditioning. Harbor was even auditioning. And every skill set was different. So it was a lot about your mindset and trying to find ways and find even parents and people that would understand our process. So it's a little bit different, I think, than the normal dance studio where you show up and you do, 3 hours of ballet and 2 hours of jazz and one of this, and you sort of have a structured schedule. For me, I really wanted to find a way to make the training so well-rounded that they could be triple threats. And that's exactly what we were doing for Autumn. So we were running around to the best Pilates place, the best ballet place. We were getting hip hop in LA. We were getting this here, this at her competition studio, all these different things, but we were actually creating this well-rounded program for her. So what better way to say, hey, are there other people out there that actually feel the exact same way? Could we build this program? And again, we started with 6 kids. And when I think about going back to that, the biggest thing was getting people to understand our process, because it wasn't the norm. What do you mean you're going to actually just do this class, and then you're going to have a journaling class? Why do they need a journaling class? They only need more hours to dance. And I think what we started to realize is that we wanted to go back into the artistry, just like what you were talking about. And there's more than just steps in a dance studio. Like really, if you want to be a professional dancer or be in the business in some realm, you have to have more than just the steps. We talk about storytelling. We talk about all the styles. We talk about understanding the camera. Like, what does it feel like to be sitting here and the camera on you? Do you feel comfortable? Can you project? Can you speak in front of a casting director? So I think you and I started to put all of our knowledge and tools together and go, okay, how can we plan what is next for this small group of kids? And will other parents actually, I think they were the ones that needed the convincing.
Yeah. And I think we're still convincing them. Obviously, we're still like
all the
one
time.
of a kind. There aren't a lot of studios that don't have a competition element to them, you know? And I think that's what really makes us unique. I think it makes the launch program unique because it is trained dancers who've trained their whole life, and then they're ready to see kind of what's next. Like, what else is there out there? Now that I'm trained in all the foundations, like we said, what other things are there? And I feel like the space and the launch program are an amazing like little gap to that. It's a little bridge. It's a little, launch pad per se into the industry, right? You can build, relationships with working choreographers. You can take styles that you may have not trained in. You can create things. We now have a media studio that they can come in and, do headshots, and we can film concept videos. They can do self-tapes, so I feel like, especially now, 10 years later from the launch program, we've also learned a lot. If you think about it, that we've had our own education of the business, thinking of that every single dance agent has been in these doors, that, working choreographers, legends like Vincent Patterson has been in here, reading his book, signing his book, teaching choreography. So their energy lives in the space in a way and has helped contribute to what it is and where we're at, you know what I mean? And it helps us make decisions every day. Like, you're working with a choreographer who's working on a film or a TV show or a music video, and you see their process, you see how they do things, how they're choreographing, maybe their style. And now that's implemented into our program, and the kids are actually getting firsthand like knowledge and experience and building that relationship. And I think that's really what it is, right? Dance is 50% of it. The other 50% is, how well do you communicate? Who do you know? Do you have the right outfit? All the training now, can you do that on an ongoing basis on a set when now it's not just a 30-second solo, you're tired and now the ground isn't, marley, it's actually cement, So I feel like those are the things that kids learn, and they may not know that when they're first hearing about the space, or they see the launch kids on a dance video here at the space, those are just kind of the front ends of what really goes on behind the scenes. So I feel like getting into it, which we are really now into it, we're talking about what they get anyway. So we kind of know what launch is now a little bit. I think hopefully we shared a few things. Maybe give like, what is a week like? What is a day like in the launch program? Just so I think the listeners can kind of understand.
So we run the launch program 10 months out of the year, and we run it in semesters, almost like a college or an extension of your high school. So we run September to the middle of December, and then we run the middle of December until May. So these guys are getting intense, almost like an intensive training, and we run Monday through Thursday. The students have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off to work and help their parents pay for it or travel. Some of them are assisting choreographers. Some of them are still taking convention classes. Kind of depends on where they're at. And the age group for launch is technically 16 to about 23-ish. When parents ask me what launch is really about, I try to explain it's about building relationships and the next level for dancers that have finished their training at their home studio, want more, or they're really looking to get into the business. Like you said, it's not all just the dance steps. It's training the mindset, learning new skill sets to be able to be on set, stage, all of the other things. But the training part of it is really important. Training programs have become very popular over the last years. And when we started, there was very few of them. There were the, classic ones that have been around forever. And I feel like we have wanted to put a little twist onto kind of what those are in a more new school version. So let's say a typical day on Monday, we start off with ballet because I think ballet is so important and it's the base for everyone. Now, my ballet for me is I am not training ballerinas or trinas. If you want to be a ballerina, you need to go to a ballet school. So for me, we're training ballet as if you were a jazz student learning ballet. This year is going to be kind of exciting. We're going into mentorship groups, which I think has been a big thing that you and I have both learned over the years, that as the program has grown and expanded, it is really hard to dig deep with every single person. I want to be able to have communication, talk about real life things that are going on in the dance world, whether it's social media, maybe it's mental health, maybe it's, oh my gosh, I'm not getting called out in this class. I feel really down and I'm not good enough, right? The self-worth. So this year we're actually going to be going into, breakout groups to be able to actually really mentor and become closer, I think, to the students, which I hope will be a better way to almost keep them on track and hold them accountable. Then we usually finish with the jazz class on Mondays. We alternate sometimes who is in that room. Tuesdays, we start a little bit later. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we come in around 1 or 2. And we're going to start with my tech class at those times. Again, setting up the body properly to be aligned and locked in so that you know what's coming next. Usually we go into a jazz funk or maybe like a hip hop class, kind of depending on that teacher in that zone. We also work through some improv and finish the night usually with contemporary, which is usually such a feel-good moment for everybody because most of the students coming from other places, contemporary or something of that sort has kind of been like their home base and what feels good to them. Wednesdays, we start nice and early with you. I think it's probably their favorite class of the week, journaling for 2 hours.
Oh, you're just saying that.
No, I know why. Because they have their coffee and their hair's a little messy. They're not ready for class yet. And they're in their slippers and they get to come in and actually just have a real life lessons talk. And you do such a fantastic job with them as far as actually just learning each person and what their strengths and weaknesses are and how we can actually use the other students to bounce ideas off, be there to help, all of the things that I think as a community we want. We're building this group of students to go out and be a super fantastic representation of the dance world and hopefully of the space. We usually go into a ballroom class at this time, followed by musical theater or heels class, and then we finish with another hip hop or jazz funk class, depending on kind of the choreographer. Thursday is our last day and usually is our big day of the week. Again, they start with me, and this season we're going to be doing a little bit longer class with me. So if those of you don't know, now you do. And we are actually...
This will probably come out while this is happening. So
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We do some optional Pilates on Thursdays too, where they're allowed to go in with the academy kids that we have, do some things there. We have a master class that we end that night. So depending on if someone's in town that we typically don't have. And this year we're actually going to be partnering with the Chungs, and they're going to be bringing some really awesome hip hop on Thursdays with us.
Flip the switch.
Yep, flip the switch. The
plug.
kids have loved that. Yes, flip the switch. We love you. So for us, we are able to turn the tables every week. If we know someone-so is in town, or if there is Dom Kelly's in town and he's here, and is willing to come in and work with the kids in musical theater, it's like, okay, let's change the schedule. Let's go there. So the students get a new schedule every single week. So we have like a little group me, we send it out, and it's always changing except for me, the staples, which is pretty much the ballet, the ballroom, the tech, and obviously journaling and things like that. We do get lucky. We get to have concept video shoots that we've done with the kids. We've really started to work more on camera, getting them to understand what slating is. Hi, my name is Krista, and my profile's to the side and my other profile's to the side, and getting them used to what that feels like. We're fortunate enough to be close to LA where the agencies will come in. We work through agency weeks. We've had, I would say, every year, probably 20 to 30% of the kids are signing with an agent, although it's not the end all be all. Some people need more work and some people are almost there. So I think that's been great. Another thing that I really like, the kids don't like it, that I like, is we do evaluation weeks where almost think about it as a progress report for yourself like you would get at school, where the students come in and we evaluate them and bring in other choreographers and teachers to kind of give them a progress report of where they are in jazz, where you are in hip hop, where you are in speaking, and we do those 2 times a year. kind of been fun to see that. They don't like it because they feel like it's a lot of pressure, but we also know as a dancer, there is a lot of pressure. There is pressure to find your wardrobe if you were getting an audition. We've done workshops on hair and makeup and wardrobe, styling. These are all things that nobody understands. I do remember this funny story, speaking of this. One of the parents said to me, my daughter came home and told me that she needs all these different outfits during the week. And I said, for what? She said, well, all of the students, she showed up on the first week and all of the students are changing their clothes rapidly. And, going from, out of ballet, you don't wear your leotard. You're now going into hip hop. And so you need your baggy pants and your sneakers and your flannel or whatnot. And I thought it was so cute because I thought she meant like I had told them, you need to, purchase these things. And she said, no, it's more of a fashion show. I said, it's not really a fashion show. It's really us trying to help them find their own style, learning to take hip hop and grooves class that feels good on you. It's not going to feel the same if you're wearing booty shorts and a bra top, right? Like you have to kind of start to understand the styles and taking class in that zone. Whereas in ballet, you want the hair pulled up and the leotard and the tights. And that's really important to me as well.
Yeah. No, I think that age group, 16 to 25-ish, they're still discovering, they're young adults. They're into the world they're entering the world for the first time as individuals. And so I feel like it is kind of, a discovery for them, whether that's what does this shirt, pants, hoodie, hat, shoes, like what is my style and what makes me feel good and who is that when I'm dancing? What is my intention? Like all of those like kind of things come into play as you get into auditions and as you enter, you go to the commercial dance world, so I feel like that's important.
It's all about confidence. And that's exactly what we're talking about. If you're not confident in your own skin already stepping through the door, which every year at the beginning of the year, everybody's very intimidated because obviously people see things on social media. And we all know that we don't post things where we're falling down and we're forgetting choreography and doing all these things. So I think we have to really look at the realness of what social media is. We're putting out your best foot forward. You're putting out your best things, which I want it to be that way. But I also want people to realize that it's really about the mistakes that you're making and the journey that you're on to be able to get to your next place. And everybody's at a different starting place and an ending place. And just like I mentioned before, everybody gets to their next place in a different way. The way you got somewhere is different than the way I get somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, when launchers first come, one of the biggest things I tell them is, look, it's not about who's the best dancer, right? I mean, there's amazing dancers out there. Actually, everyone that even comes to the space is amazing to even get this far because it means they've trained and they get accepted to the launch program. So they're already amazing. But I think when they get here, it's all like a lot of the best from everywhere, right? So they get here and that's when the personality, the confidence, the uniqueness, the, creativity, like that's when all the things start to become more than just good dancing, right? The more than just the dance moves. It's like, okay, if two people can do, 6 pirouettes, which one looks like the part that needs the 6 pirouettes and who's just doing pirouettes to do pirouettes? What are the moves mean? What story are they telling? What does the audience feel when they do them? And I feel like that's the discovery of launch to me. It's like you come here knowing all the dance moves, but now it's time to, learn new dance moves, learn how to connect it to a story, learn how to connect it to your personality, learn how to be confident while you do it. And those are the things that I feel like really separate launch from a lot of different programs.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that most of the kids that are moving here from other places, this is their first time living on their own. We are their typical, almost like their college experience. So they're living on their own for the very first time. They probably have never done laundry or know how to make a grilled cheese. And it's very, very overwhelming in the beginning because I think, just like you mentioned, everybody was the best of the best in their own town, country, state, and coming together with all these students that have the same will and drive and fight and push, it is a little scary because you feel like you're going to come in here. And when you come in here and then you have to kind of work hard towards something, I think it's inspiring. But the first few weeks are a little scary and overwhelming. And maybe the word is intimidating for people that are new.
Right.
it also just really starts to help you build community, because now you want to lean on someone else or lean on you or me or other teachers to be able to talk you through it. Like, you're okay. Like, this is day one. Talk to me in 2 weeks. We do a lot of one-on-one meetings as well, because we want to know what the kids' goals are. Everybody that comes into the program, somebody might want to be a commercial dancer. Somebody else might want to actually go on a cruise ship. Somebody else might be like, I only want a tour. Everybody has a different idea. And then I think once they get here, that changes a lot too. And that actually excites me, because just what you said about the artistry, they're learning more and more about their own self, and the self-discovery takes them on different journeys, and, hopefully that they're here for 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah. And yeah, no, that's so great. And that, I feel like you really are the epitome of the program, and what you want to give them is, you had a career in this business. You kind of have been through it for 20, 30 years. So, and you've been through different decades of different things, right? Like, even prior to social media, and then honestly, and then social media when we did YouTube. So you kind of have been through a lot of different things. So I feel like, from an outside point of view, if I was going to like ask questions about launch, and I'm like, okay, I've trained, I've been at a dance studio from, 6 to 16. I've gone to competitions. I've built my own little community with my friends. I have my teachers that I've learned all the foundational things from. But the point is that, they get to a place where they kind of are deciding what's next for them in this industry, whether it's, singing, dancing, acting, behind the scenes, photography, videography, choreographing, like whatever it is, they're getting to that place where like, okay, now I'm getting old enough and mature enough and confident enough to decide what is it that I want, and that's when they decide to either, go to college. They decide to start entering a route, whether it's, digging deeper into dance or choreography, or I'm going to go to the space. I've heard about the space, or I'm going to go to these other programs and learn from them. And I think that's where we want to meet people, right? Like right at that place where they're interested in what's next. And I feel like that's where we offer the most value, because we can give you that entry level in to what is out there and what is next. So you can decide. Like we've had people come in as full contemporary dancers and leave like, I just want to be a hip hop dancer.
And they're successful at it.
And they're successful at it. Exactly.
I think those are my favorite stories. And going along with that, as I'm planning those weeks, I really do think about what is happening for the group, right? If we are really all struggling on learning the ballroom, Latin, bachacatas, and all the fun things that are happening, then we need to push harder in that lane. If hip hop is the only thing happening right now, and I'm struggling with a group of kids that are really just having a hard time foundationally, let's figure out how to kind of put that back in the schedule 2 or 3 more times.
Let's get Kenneth Marquis back in to do some grooves.
Love Kenneth and his grooves. Yes, we do. A big question that parents ask me usually when we have what's called a guest week, where the kids will apply, and if they get called back, they come in and get to spend 4 days with the launchers, which is so fun, taking class and basically being a launcher. And Cory and I meet with the parents, and we talk a lot about exactly what we're talking about here. But the question to me that always comes up is, how do these kids make it in the business? Like, what do they get after the program? What is going to guarantee them success in the business?
I want to just add to that, because I think there's this big, bubble in the air of like, I want to be famous. And I want to make $1 million, and I'm going to live in a mansion.
Haha.
And I feel like if you're a true artist and this is something you really want to do and you really enjoy doing, the money and the fame may come or may not come. But as long as you stay focused on what makes you happy while you're growing and learning, that's ultimately what will be your journey and what will take you places. Don't you agree?
Very true. And the hustle and the grind is very real. And you are exactly right. I think social media, again, kind of has this perception of what things look like. Or you see so-and-so that has this many followers, or this person that's been on 18 tours. You just don't know what it took for people to get there. And I think you have to kind of take all of that out and really put your own self in to the dirt and be like, this is what I'm going to do to train and be able to rise my own self up to figure out what it is. And so the answer, I think mostly what I say to the parents is, really, I can't guarantee any kind of success. I can guarantee you connections, and that's going to be on your student or your dancer to be able to know how to facilitate, to communicate with these choreographers or teachers, and then also be hungry for it. You can't be this shy little person and then on stage the same. You can be a shy person in real life and then you can explode on the dance floor. So I believe that everybody's journey is very different. We do not offer a BFA in dance. I am not competing with colleges. That is probably another topic that I think we'll talk about, because I think those are a lot of questions people ask me about college route or not. I think if you're serious and you're starting in this business, you need to do it at a younger age, not 12, but I think something like our launch program starting at 16 or 17 or 18, and give yourself time. You need 3 or 4 years to build relationships. Even with us, I don't put my stamp or my name on someone and just send them out after a year. There's a lot more that goes along with that. So the answer to the question is I cannot guarantee that, but I can guarantee that they will have the best training and will come out as well-rounded as possible, and they will get whatever it is that they put in. So the launch program works for the kids that show up, commit, communicate, and want it. And that's just the truth.
Ooh, that was good. I mean, like, that was like a good little like ending. Those bullet points were awesome. Good work.
It's true.
No, I feel like that needs to be heard and that needs to be said, because I think sometimes, just even doing this podcast, people just see the success in the front end, maybe, you talk about 10 years and you talk about 6 kids to 60 kids. They see that and they don't see the grind to get here. They don't see that it took 10 years of making mistakes, of, trial and error, of expanding into bigger spaces, to, getting better cameras, making better relationships with agents and even choreographers ourselves. Like, all of that has been also part of the journey and part of the success. And it goes even way back to when you taught, or when you were dancing professionally, and when I was in the business, and when I, first picked up a camera even. So, it's good. I think these podcasts are sometimes good because you listen and you're like, okay, that makes sense, because I thought I was going to get it overnight. I thought it was just because I saw it on Instagram or I saw it on YouTube. I thought I was just going to move to LA and I was going to book everything because I won a million trophies over the years. And then you get here and you're like, okay, yeah, I won a bunch of trophies in, a costume with music on a stage with judges, but that doesn't necessarily confirm success or, guarantee success.
Well, here's a good example, because I agree with you completely, is if your student or dancer decides they want to go to college and they're not in the dance world, they want to be a veterinarian, they want to be a doctor, they have to go to school and grind it out for 4 years and then do a residency and do all of these things, and they're guaranteed a job. This is a passion project. If you want to be a dancer, if you want to be an entertainer, you still have to put those years of work in, and it's building the relationships and building the confidence in yourself to actually kind of have the nerve or the gall to be able to walk up to someone and say, hi, I'm Krista. I heard you're casting for da-da-da-da. I think I would be perfect. Here's my picture and resume. Well, today's world, the kids don't want to do that. And it's I'm not going to say anything. I'll just message them. And I really think being able to be personable in this business is so important. And when we first started, we changed the program. We've been changing it every single year based on things that have not worked or worked. And I think we care so much about it, and we continue to put money back into the program and invest in it, whether it's scholarship kids, whether it's this media room that we're sitting in right now, and giving them every single one-up tool, resources to be successful once they leave here and then they are auditioning on their own, whether it's in LA or New York. And I think we do a really good job of that. It's a matter of what those kids are actually going to take from us.
Yeah, like you said earlier, it's what they put in is what they get out of the program, The program has all the information. It has a lot of the tools, but it's also, it's just like a computer. You can enter the internet, you can do all these things, but if you don't have someone behind it typing in what it wants. I mean, AI is the same way, right? AI is amazing. It's doing all these amazing things. But if you don't tell it or ask it the right questions or put effort into it day after day after day, it's just this great tool that lives. The space and the launch program is a great tool that lives there. But if I don't engage in it and I don't be a part of it, then how do you expect to get any success from it or to be to go to your next level?
Yeah.
I think,
I feel like there is a lot of mentorship programs out there now. So it is hard to separate yourself because the majority of the people are doing things very similar.
Yeah.
I think we've started to incorporate acting. We have a fabulous acting coach that comes in and helps us, and even singing, which I'll say vocals, in the sense of that, because I do really feel that every student, regardless if they want to be on Broadway or they want to do anything else, you have to have acting skills to be able to do a self-tape. Autumn has an audition for something like a self-tape for something, and there's like 4 different lines. And if you don't have any confidence in it, even if you're going to be dancing, you have to be able to build other skill sets. I think dancers' minds are so creative that it is really hard to stay organized if it's not dance. And so for me, the communication part of it, or learning outside, maybe it's, the lyra and the silks and different skill sets that will just set you apart from other things. And I want to keep branching out into different aspects, even when we're creating the program every year, and can increasingly try to bring in new things for them. I think that's been very fun.
Well, one thing I've learned from you is, like well-rounded dancers that bring more than one thing to the table, dancers that are multi-talented in different things, they have more opportunity for jobs, right? So like, say you're asking, how do you make a living in this business? Well, if you just dance one style and you go to one audition in one way, there may be some jobs for you. But if you do if you like train in every style and you take care of your body and your mind and you study the greats, old things that have done great, and you communicate really well, and you find the right times to talk to people, and you respond with texts and emails, and you get the business side right on the back end, you're going to have much more of a successful career in this. And not even success, but I think you're going to be happier in the long run, because you're also going to get to experience a lot of different creative people, different directors, different style dances like that. I feel like if you're a true dancer at heart, that's cool. Like that makes it more interesting. That makes it more fun for you. And, dancers to me, or like young artists, always say, I just want to live this like happy life and enjoy what I do. And if you ever do jobs, like usually they're pretty enjoyable in the moment. Sometimes the beginning and the end can be hard, but like when you're actually doing your craft and it's in sync with, the job and the training and the people around you, it feels great. Like, I feel like that's what people are attracted to in this business is the people within it, the creative people that kind of push each other and they support each other, and they try new things and they fail sometimes, but then when they don't fail, they triumph together.
And what is really success? I think that's the question of the day, because being successful in dance or artistry or anything is different for every single person again. So going back to even the parents' questions, these are things.
Going back to why even be in launch.
Exactly. Why am I doing this? Why do I want to be here? What is the program going to do for me? And I think that really is all about self-discovery. I didn't have anything like this. If I would have had a program like this, I would have been begging my mom to let me homeschool and come to a program like this to learn. I was very green, so they say, and naive, and I really didn't know anything. And I was able to fight my way through. And for what I want to say, I feel like I was very successful in what I did without having any knowledge. So I can't imagine if I was given some of the tools and the confidence and the communication and the resources, what I could have really done. So I think if you're a parent listening, I think you do want to give your dancer or your student a little bit more of a one-up and a push by coming into a program like ours, because it is only going to prepare them. It really is, like, I feel like a college for them to understand. And basically then they're out in the real world and they're actually auditioning and hoping to find things that fuel their soul, not just for money, even though we all know the dance business is not about all the money, because it's not a lot of money if you start breaking things down, but you have to have a side hustle, and then that is your passion.
Yeah.
And I think for me, walking into the studio every single day when I get to see those launch kids, it fuels my soul and my heart, and it makes me so happy to think we're changing the path of how these kids are going to get places. We're opening parents' eyes to maybe what they don't know. My parents didn't know anything about this business or how to even start. And so I think launch is a perfect way and a segue into the business.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like that was a really nice closure to, this topic. We did want to bring some value to what launch is.
Yeah.
And I feel like, hopefully you learned a little bit about what it is. We might have rambled a little bit about the program, but it is ever changing as well. It's not one way, like we're telling you what the program is this season 9, but it could be different season 10 and season 11. And we continue to grow with the industry. We continue to change and mold it depending on what's happening, right? We're literally in LA's backyard. We're watching our friends, choreographers, agents make decisions and create new things every single day. So we get to evolve with that. And that's actually for me, that's the part I like the best, because, I would hate to have to come to work every single day and it be exactly the same, and I don't want to, the young kids coming in, I want to keep it fresh for them too. We want them to be pushed and challenged, and not like just give them something they're already good at, but give them new things that are going to challenge them and open their mind to who knows what. I'm really excited in 10 more years to see what people have created that have come through launch and what their journey is going to look like. Just being a little small part of that in the beginning is amazing. And I feel we're grateful and blessed to be able to do that. And, God did put us here for that reason, I think, to just guide people and help people and give the knowledge that we've already learned along the way.
Last thing I'm going to say is launch has been forever evolving and changing. So have we as mentors and parents and humans. And then the best part of it is to actually watch the students do the exact same thing. True. And evolve into their own being. So I hope this was a fun sneak peek into our launch program. We are very proud of it, and I'm proud of us for pushing through and wanting more. And
yeah, awesome.
That's it for today.
That's it. Welcome to the space with the Millers.
Follow us, subscribe, all the fun things. We're going to get better at this.
Yeah, I know. It might be a little sketchy right now. I don't know, but stay tuned for good stuff.
Inside the Space with the Millers.